says it's showtime right now. All right, guys, so we're live. So welcome everybody to our wonderful live stream. I'm so excited to have everybody here. And I really just want to ask you guys something. Are you going to succeed or are you going to fail as an online tutoring business owner? The questions we have are really straightforward and everyone here is going to answer. And we're going to share. I hear my voice echoing back at me. So if we have tech issues, just bear with me, okay? All right. The first question I have, here we go. Okay. Why did you start an online tutoring business? Because the traditional way to teach is obviously in the classroom. If some of us had that experience. So I'm going to ask Stacy, you're going to go first. Briefly tell us who you are. And then I want you to tell us why you're doing this online tutoring business thing.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stacy Hayward. I am the proud owner of NKE Tutoring and Consulting. And my business helps students to acclimate in their school environment with reading, also to build their self-confidence. And I also help to future-proof schools by helping them retain teachers and provide executive leadership. I started my business because I got tired of not being able to service students in the way that they deserve. And I always felt like I was missing something with the kids. So this allows me to be able to service them in a way that they deserve. I'm able to do one-on-one or small group. And doing it online allows for more time. I don't have to travel. So I feel like I'm able to service more. And not just locally online, I'm able to reach globally. So I'm able to do a lot more and I feel fulfilled. And it also provides home life balance. So I have more time for my family and for myself as well.
Yeah. And I think that's really critical for a lot of jobs these days, for sure. Like family life, so important. It's always important, but any type of working from home job, it's the family benefits, you know? I mean, I can see that no matter what age you are and no matter what your family looks like. So, Clara, you are from Vancouver over in Canada. Why in the world are you running an online tutoring business? And moreover, what exactly is it that you do?
Well, let me first introduce myself. I'm Clara Tong. I tutor math online to students ages 11 and up. I help students achieve their own goals in math, whether it be getting excellent grades in school or preparing to study higher level math at university. Why do I have an online tutoring business? Well, prior to online tutoring, I did a lot of different jobs. Like when I graduated from university, I was just looking for a job that I could settle into. I tried different things like teaching in a classroom, wedding photography, office jobs. And then when I found tutoring, I just kind of knew that this was it. And I have to make this a full-time job somehow. I really do enjoy building students up because I do have an education background. And I know that math is a very hard subject for many. So if I help someone succeed, like if I help somebody go from struggling in math to excelling in it, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to have to know that I contributed to someone's transformation. And that's why I tutor math.
Yes, it's all about that transformation. I think that happens with, I mean, it can happen with any type of business and industry, but if you're not seeing anybody change, then you kind of know what to do to adjust. You're like, okay, this isn't working, so I know how to do something else. And it's just rewarding because I think all of us have done at least one job before where it just felt like a dead end. We do have one question, so I'm going to actually pop this one up, but I'm going to still let Lori go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what, why you're doing this, because you've definitely had other jobs before. So what do you do and why do you do it?
I'm Lori from Lori's Language Lab, and I help teach English to people that relocate to the United States. A lot of times there's a gap between classroom English that they've learned and actually what they need to live every day. And so I help culture-wise and language-wise to close that gap. And why I went online was so that I could find more people before they actually got to the US. This week, I talked to somebody who was in Italy and going to move to Chicago. And she and I had a conversation about her kids transferring to an English speaking school. And I never would have done that had I not been teaching online.
I love that. I love that. You get to meet just wonderful people that you would never have gotten to meet had you been working elsewhere, especially inside one building, having to go and clock in every day. Yeah. Patty, tell us about you.
Okay, I'm Patty Levine, and I tutor math for students in preschool through pre-algebra. And I help them, if they're struggling, I help them to rebuild their skills as well as their confidence. And also, did you want me to talk about why I chose an online
why are you doing this now? Why this? Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So basically, I love being one-on-one with the students because you can just be creative and you can adjust to their learning styles and what their interests are. It's just really fun to be creative in building their lessons. Also, I love the freedom to work when I want and where I want. Yeah, so basically that's about it, and as well as some of the things that the other tutors have already said. I agree with that.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of these points that were made, I think we can all agree with. And for me, like we teach English and math to people ages 11 and up, sometimes 10. We get sometimes a 10-year-old in there. And I've noticed that, when I was in the classroom, we could not really effectively meet the needs of every student. And there were so many times I wanted to work either one-on-one with students or small group, and a public or even a private school teaching schedule isn't conducive to that. It's just not the same. And there are teachers out there that do a fantastic job, but I knew I was more of a one-to-one or one-to-small group type of educator. And like you were saying, there's all these interesting creative things you can do because you have more time to do it. I love getting to ask students, what is it they actually like to read? And then I remember little things about them, like, okay, this is the kid who plays soccer. This is the one who likes writing creative stories. This is the one who is in band, these different things. So you take the things that are important to them and you can add it to your lesson plans or, even math word problems. It's great. So let's all think about how to ask or how to answer this question. How do you overcome working from home and having to balance it all? Because we've probably all been home, you have a schedule, and then suddenly you remember the laundry, or someone knocks on the door. When you're working from home, you can't avoid the home life. It's there around you all the time. The garbage truck man comes by and you're like, oh, did I forget? And you're in the middle with somebody. So what's one thing, what are we thinking about? Because for me, I'm just thinking I have hours I'm willing to work and hours I just must absolutely turn off, and unless there's an emergency. Who wants to speak up first?
I would say balance and discipline. Balance and discipline.
How do you specifically do that? Because you're right, but
create a schedule and stick to it, and be able to effectively communicate with your family so that they don't think that you're just home. Like, I'm just home having fun. No, I'm at home, but I'm working. So I'm working from home. This is my schedule. And if you're tutoring, let's say you tutor from 8 to 12, I'm in Eastern Standard Time Zone, EST. So if I'm doing, let's say 8 a.m. to 12 noon, nobody's to bother me during that time because I'm working 8 to 12. And then after that, maybe a lunch. And then, so you set your hours, like we set our own hours, but you have to be firm in that. And that's for everybody, even somebody calling, anything like that. Like, I let my phone go to voicemail. I have do not disturb. It's set. My kids already know this is the time that I'm working. They know not to call. They'll call me after, or they'll send me a text and say, Ma, are you free? But they don't just call, because I'm still doing a job. I still have to accrue an income. If I don't work, we don't eat.
There you go. Anyone else have can we piggyback off of that?
My idea is a little bit different. I think what I do is I limit the work life. So this year I've started not tutoring in the morning at all. The first student goes at 12 p.m. If they ask me for earlier, it's not available. I also don't work on Fridays or Sundays anymore. So clients come to know that if they want something from me, it's not going to be either of those days. And then the rest of the time that I have set as not work, I am free to live my own life.
That's good. Yeah, I don't work weekends.
Yeah.
That is so. I speak to other tutors who are amazing. And when I hear them say, oh, I do some Saturdays, I do some Sundays, it kind of hurts my heart a little bit because I'm like, okay, if you're happy doing that, that's fine. But I just know that when I had people scheduled on Saturday and Sunday, in my mind, I'm like, oh, good, a little bit more money because extra time. But then there was always the letdown of, oh, I've got so and so. Even if I really like, because I am looking forward to seeing the student, what I'm not looking forward to is the scheduled time it takes away. It's going to interrupt your weekend plans. It's going to prevent you from doing other things. Well, some people do that and they have to take a Monday off, so as long as you have like a couple of days off a week, that's always helped me. And then of course you've got holidays coming up, so you have to decide, like, you kind of have to be a master planner for this job and look ahead and say, you know what, Christmas and Thanksgiving and what else, New Year's, those are coming up. Look at what days of the week those fall upon, because that will matter, because sometimes you think you can't tutor and you realize you can, and vice versa. So let's talk about, since we're getting into scheduling and such, I want to talk about what's next. So I love all the comments coming in here. So the next one is, what does it take to establish and run an online tutoring business? I mean, that could take like probably another hour or two, which we won't do. So what does it take to establish and run it? Because here's the thing, a lot of people think that tutoring is a side gig, is what high school and college students do for a little extra money. And I mean, for those kids, it can be, but we've turned it into a real thing. So what does it take to get to do this? Who has like an excellent burning answer that they're willing to share now?
I'll go.
Okay, Stacey.
I would say first and foremost, from what we learned, having an accountability partner first and foremost, because you can make mistakes and become lazy. So that found to be very helpful. If you're not doing it as a side hustle and you're making this your be all end all and this is your priority, you need to have money saved, because you're still going to have expenses. It's not that you're going to start this business and you're going to have 10 students, 20 students. You have to work to get it. So it's not going to just come to you. So again, you have to be disciplined. You have to have time management. It's a lot of skills that you need. Financially, you do need some, because you're going to be on different social media, but you may have to print up flyers to go out. If you're doing a car door magnet, you have to do, if you want to pay for paid advertising, that's up to the person. I wouldn't suggest that straight off at the beginning, but a lot of networking, communicating and stuff, because you have to get yourself out there. So you do need some money. You don't need an astronomical amount, like thousands and thousands of dollars, but that's why networking is good. And if you joined a program like Insider Secrets, you'll learn a lot and you'll meet a lot of other phenomenal tutors where you guys can piggyback off of each other and you can share ideas, and you learn economical ways of being able to get your business out, as opposed to putting it out there and wasting money. Because if you go through a program where somebody already did the bumps and bruises, then you don't have to encounter it and bump your head. They'll already help you and help you to walk.
I think
Does anybody... Oh, go ahead, Lori. Sorry.
I think one of the things I struggled with, not necessarily balancing work and home, but balancing teaching and business. And I felt at the beginning, I felt very overwhelmed about the things I thought I was supposed to do. I did the Jumpstart class, got more clarity on what I needed to do. And then I still felt like I was out of balance. So I ended up doing some time blocking. of and putting certain tasks to work on, because things that I'm not quite sure about, like marketing or social media, or like the group we're in, the video mastermind class, those things take more energy from me. And so I really have to time block that so I don't procrastinate or get stuck trying to make it perfect, just to keep practicing. So that's how I balance the business side and the teaching side.
I mean, I think so. Like, one of the first things I did was I picked the name, I picked a logo, and then I established an LLC. And then I knew of a couple people that I was just meeting with. So you get started with just 1 or 2 or 3 people, and you tell them, I'm building a business. You don't say, I'm doing this on the side just for fun, or, well, I'm trying, but I'm not sure. You can't, even if down deep you're like, I'm kind of insecure, you have to pretend like you're not insecure. Because if I pay someone for a service, or if I'm looking for something and they act insecure, first of all, I'm like, oh, I can't trust that. And then second of all, I'm like, I just don't feel good about it, because we've all been that way. And anytime we do something new, those insecure feelings come back. So it really takes this belief in yourself. And it helps if you have family and friends who support you. And what helps even more is being a part of an online tutoring community like this, because it's kind of still a new thing. It's a little different. Like, this job, teaching's been around forever, but teaching with utilizing these tools, that's still fairly new. And so I mean, I've already seen it since I've been doing this since 2018. I've seen it change really pretty quickly. I hardly ever have resistance now to learning online, because people are finding me online. So they expect, okay, my child will log into Zoom, they'll be focused, they'll work one-to-one with you, and I like that. Let's see, maybe another comment or two. Somebody asked about how to chemistry tutor. Clara, you might want somebody, Brandon, saying, how do I have a substitute in his chemistry class, and he's saying, how do I self-teach? I mean, self-teaching, only a few people can do that. Everybody else has to at least have some type of help, whether it's free resources or it's actually paying a quality tutor. So Clara, you can type with him in the chat if you can.
I can't type in the chat right now. I don't have the option.
Can you not type there?
No, I
don't
don't see any.
You can't? Okay, what you can do is if you can, open up either on your phone or like on a separate, you can open up a separate tab and then go into my YouTube channel where it's streaming, and you should be able to, you just have to mute it though, because you'll hear that echoing back. That's what was happening earlier. I had my YouTube channel open just to make sure it was working. That's what was going on. See, I heard myself now. So look there. You can take turns fielding comments if you'd like. The other thing, let's see if I'm going to add to this, because we've got a few more. Here's something that yes, Patty.
Yeah, I was just going to add a little something to that last question about when you first establish your business. Something that was really helpful to me was being, like you guys said, a part of a community of tutors and having the accountability partner and everything. A big part that I learned right off the bat was to establish policies for your business. Establish what you're going to charge, establish policies for cancellations and that sort of thing. And so having that group behind me that said, yes, this is what we do, this is what the business does, was really helpful to me to feel confident to implement those policies for myself, for my business right off the bat.
And for me, I discovered the mistakes. You have to be willing to realize things. Like, I had people who would want to cancel at last minute, so I created a cancellation policy. I had 3 or 4 different ways I was taking payments, and it was making me pull my hair out. So I had to fix that, get that down to just 1 or 2. And then, oh gosh, what else? I was taking different types of students, because I was offering just English at first, but I thought, oh, well, I'll help anyone. If someone someone has a little bit of a reading problem, I can help them. If somebody's got like if there's a special ed student, or if there's somebody, I thought, well, I can pretty much handle that. But actually, you have to be absolutely clear about what you like to teach, because what's the most value you've actually provided. Think about those students. It's not always like the easiest student. Sometimes it's someone who's you weren't sure about them at first, but then you saw how much progress they've made, and then so you're like, that's my type of student. You've got to have a website. You've got to be on social media, like all these things. When people aren't used to these types of things, they struggle. And it, I think it's okay to struggle at first. You're going to have to, but if you want to do an online business where you're not driving to and from different locations, you just need that social media present. And I say this simply because it's worked for me. Okay, does anyone else want to add to how that has worked for them, like what it takes? Because it's so much more. I think I hear some family noise in the background.
Or there's a bit of background noise from you.
Yeah, somebody. Maybe Stacey, are you
in the room? Yeah.
Yeah, there's people talking, picking up noise.
All right.
Some people talking about insiders and how great that's been.
Yes. I also wanted to share that aside from having a accountability partner and stuff, when you do that, it helps you to really truly see yourself and find out like about you. I learned to overcome fears and procrastination. Like, it was really, really good for me to come out of my shell. Like, I would have never I learned to create a website on my own, and I gotten so many compliments. I learned to use social media, how to make posts. And I mean, I had to come out of my shell. I was accustomed to making flyers. Like, I'm going to make a flyer and I'm going to do it. And I kept being told, if you're doing an online business, you're not just doing local. You have to come out of your shell. And I kept saying, what if? So you overcome perfection and all those things, because I had to have it exactly right. And it's never going to be exactly right. It's better to just do it and get it out there and keep going. If you wait, then you're never going to get it done, and nobody won't know you, and you won't have clients, and your business will fail before it gets started. So it helped me a lot. So thank you. I want to thank you, Jessica, because you helped me too.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Let me switch over my camera to my FaceTime here. I'm going to change. It's going to be a little bit different. Okay. It's changed. There we go. All right. So if you hadn't come out of your shell, if you had not come out of your shell, do you think you would have failed in this business and just stuck with what you're already doing?
Oh, most definitely. I would have definitely failed. I would still not be happy because I wasn't happy with the kids not getting service. I wasn't happy with teachers being frustrated. I wasn't happy with parents not getting what they need. I service students with disabilities. So as a part of my registration, when parents join on, if their child has an IEP, I conduct a free audit of the IEP for them to see if their child has the right goals, if everything is okay, if they have any questions about understanding it. And I've had so many parents that say, oh my gosh, I did not understand this. Why does my child have that? I had a student who was doing single digit addition, but the goals they had was her doing 2x2 multiplication. That just doesn't go. It doesn't go. So I helped the parent be able to advocate for herself. And it was something that was really appreciated. And then to know the true level of her child, I also offer a free reading assessment. So it helps the things that we're able to do, and you can meet so many needs. So I'm really happy. Now I'm happy with myself as an educator to be able to do more, because now I feel like I'm really doing my dream.
Okay. Nod your head or raise your hand if you agree that in order to be able to teach in this way online, you've got to be a great communicator. Do you need to be? You have to be. And so what does that look like? Like being a good communicator, besides, I can talk to people. Anybody can do that. But what are all the ways that we can? I can make a profile on any social media platform and say that I tutor, but got to take action with that afterward. I've got to make these videos, even if I think my friends will make fun of me. I've got to, there's this thing I've heard before, you have to articulate your value. You know what I mean? And so you've got to learn how to say it, even if you almost don't believe it at first. You've got to practice saying it. Like at the beginning of this, when I said, everybody tell what you do. And there's a million different ways I could have had you introduce yourself, but it needs to only take like 30 seconds to a minute, because not only will people be able to find you online because of how you've communicated with them, but they're going to see you in person in your community, at your some whatever social group you might be part of, your church, your other family groups, tennis, whatever, and they're going to ask you about what you do, and eventually somebody's going to recommend you. And so that's leading to my next point. I want to hear about what are some ways that our ideal client can find us, because we want the people who need us to be able to find us, because if you're not getting found, you're not getting to help people, and thus your business isn't moving forward. So what is one thing or one way that's worked for you as far as getting found?
I'll say that my group is different from a lot of other tutors in this program, because mine aren't in the school system. Mine are usually adults or parents that are moving in. So I've had to reach out to expat coaches and be in networking groups around. I'm in a couple of networking groups in Europe. I follow some Facebook groups about in the US about expats. And I think just being comfortable being out there. And we were talking a second ago about communication. You don't have to be perfect at communication when you start, but it's practicing. And I think all of us would say that we're better than we were before, because it's just learning to practice a little by little on the skills that you need.
Yeah. Okay. How have you, like, let's think about, I've asked this before. What's your favorite way to be found? Because honestly, mine's YouTube, because I'm doing it right now. I'm like, yes, all those videos I made and edited, they're working. Clara,
Google
did you
My
have something?
Business works. I've had a few people come through on Google My Business, and because I put on every single page that I have, like the YouTube page or the Instagram page or my web page, it all says that I'm online tutoring. So people don't come to me looking for an in-person tutor anymore.
Yeah, you have to make that clear. So I remember you saying that, like, sometimes people aren't noticing it, they're not reading it, and they say, oh, can you come to my house? And you're like, truthfully, we've done that before. There are people out there, there will probably always be people out there who will tutor at your house. But you have to say, I don't like doing that. You know, like that's actually the truth. But how do you say, well, actually, I've found a lot of success, or students have been able to benefit from online tutoring because parents don't have to rush their kids to a library. They don't have to tidy up the house. So for, another adult to come in, they don't have to squeeze you into the corner of the room where the kid's desk is. You don't have to do that. Who here has like a t-shirt or a hoodie or any type of sign on their car or anything like that?
I do.
Okay, Stacy does.
Yes, I do, because
What do you
I
have,
still
Stacey?
have some. I have a car door magnet, and I still have shirts and stuff too. Only because where I'm at, I'm in North Carolina, and there's a lot of students that I can get because they really, really need it, especially when COVID hit. So being online was instrumental, I think, for all of us during that time, because when COVID hit, everybody had to stay home, but we were online, so we were able to service and meet the needs. So I have other things. I have all the other stuff like social media and everything, but I don't look away from local as well. I'm still local, and if I can get somebody local, just because they're local doesn't mean they don't want online. They don't want to leave their
Good
house
point.
either. I'd rather stay
I'm
in my
glad you
house
said
and
that.
get the service. Yeah, I'd rather stay in my house. And you just never know, even if it's somebody that's local and they see it, they could send me to somebody else in another state. Like I'm in North Carolina, but somebody in Texas found me because I was talking about it with somebody else and they said, hey, I have a great tutor. So then I was able to find them. So I've had students in California, Indiana, South Dakota, all over just from being online. But one of my students that I have now, she's local, but she came to me. I was on tutors.com, and that's how she found me, even though I'm local, but she still found me through an online platform. So,
Yeah, I was gonna my show and tell was I actually almost wore this. So if you get, I mean, spend like, look, put $100 aside and decide I'm gonna buy 5 shirts and 5 hoodies, or like call up your, I think Vistaprint. I had one shirt that I think it was like super cheap. I paid a little more for the hoodies because they're hoodies, but now I can probably have that for several years and decide, okay, I'm going to put forth $100 toward clothing. So pick somebody you trust and give them a shirt. Maybe it's another student. Maybe it's someone you've worked with before, like another teacher, wherever you're exposed to parents who care about their kids' education. Because that's what this is. I meet a lot of people who they say, oh, yeah, when I say I tutor their kids. And sometimes I think they're going to ask me more and they don't. It's sometimes it's when you least expect it. I wore my tennis. I go to tennis now, and I wore my T-shirt. And I remember thinking, like, I wasn't even thinking about trying to get more people or anything, but people, they saw it because on the back it says, English language arts tutor. And guess what? A parent was there in the class with me and they said, oh, and they asked me, and it gave me a chance to talk about it without me having to awkwardly bring it up. Like, hey, guess what I do? They saw it. It was displayed. I could have worn anything that day, but that's what you guys can do too. So that's just one of the easy things, especially now that we're all back into our community now. We're not stuck in our house anymore. So you really don't have excuses. I mean, just say, I'm going to spend $100, make a couple t-shirts. You don't have to if you're not a person who sees a lot of people, but I'm just saying, like, other than putting stuff out like this type of content, the clothing thing, that's just what I'm comfortable with. I like doing that. You could even, I don't know, you utilize a family member and say, hey, I'll pay you X amount of dollars if you can make something for me on your Cricut. Always try to do the free or like the less expensive way first. And then when you realize, like, don't spend thousands of dollars. It's probably not worth it. You know what I mean? If you spend $30 on a hoodie with your logo and all the value you provide on it, written upon it, you're going to get back hundreds of dollars.
I would say that, I'm sorry, I would just say that we're our own best brand. And if we want to get ourselves, nobody cares about our business more than we do. So get a bag, like the bag, put your logo and everything on a bag with your contact information. And not everybody is like, it takes time to put in the phone, but if you have a QR code, they can zap the QR code. That's why I leave it on my car as well. And if you have family in other states or whatever, send them a shirt. They're going to be happy to get the shirt. Like, send them the shirt. They'll wear it, and just do it. Put it on a bag, whatever it is. Get a hat. I see Jessica has her hat. Jessica has all these things. But I even have my daughter attends high school, but she already told me, Ma, if you get a sweatshirt made, I'll wear the sweatshirt so that people can know, because she understands that the revenue that comes is not just for me, it's for us. It's a family thing. So she's willing to do it. So I believe in us being our best brand. I wear our own best brand as opposed to wearing Nike and all these other things. Nothing against them, but they already have a name. We're trying to build. Right. We're trying to build up.
Yeah, that's right. Because Danielle is saying her favorite way to be found is word of mouth. So that's probably what most people start with, because all the online stuff, the website, the Google My Business, that still takes several weeks or months to really, for people to really look into it and trust you. But if they already know somebody, or if there's even an acquaintance, honestly, it's not always your best friends because they already know what you do. It's the acquaintances you meet that are sometimes more valuable. And I can't tell you how wonderful it feels when someone's like, oh, so and so told me about you. I'm like,
I can't tell you
they
how
did.
wonderful
It's just
someone's like,
fantastic.
oh, so and so told me about you. I'm like, I
Do you
can't
guys
tell
hear
you
an
how
echo again?
Yes.
like.
Okay. I don't really know what's causing it. We'll just keep
Now
working
it's
through it.
stopped.
That's another thing. You just work through the weird weird things that might happen. Let me try this again. All right, so I got another question. We want to try to keep it
Decided
under
I'm
an
going
hour.
to get a skin.
Do what?
I'm going to get
I
a
think that was-
skin for my computer with my business name on it for Christmas.
Nice.
So when I'm out working, people can see it. Yeah.
That's nice.
Do it. You know what I did?
It's
I
on my
used
list
to
for the
have a
Black
Chromebook.
Friday. Uh-huh.
We'll do it. Yeah, Black Friday is a good time to get some merch. I'm telling you. I had an old Chromebook and I printed off my logo on a sheet of paper and I taped it to the Chromebook and then I put I had a cover. It was like a blue tinted cover and you couldn't tell that it wasn't like a nice skin. It was like I did it for free. But I had that for a while before I got a better computer. And when I was out in public, like at a coffee
Yeah.
shop, a couple of people asked, they're like, oh, they could see I was an educator out there, like planning my lessons and such.
Mhm.
So this leads into the next thing. We've got networking with other tutors, video creation. How can we speak about our business with others? Like, how do we talk about it without sounding boring or confusing or pushy? How can we do that? Clara, what about you?
I think have your short. Go ahead.
I think people naturally ask, once they find out you're an online tutor, the first question is, how do you get students?
Popular
A lot of
question.
people
Everyone's
work 9 to
wanting to
5
know.
jobs, right? So then it's a foreign idea to them. And once you get the ball rolling, you can talk about all sorts of things.
Jessica, do you mean like people we know or just people you happen to meet in passing? Like
honestly, especially the strangers, the people that you know, probably we don't want to take for granted the fact that we have people that know us and can vouch for us and really be our marketing people. But you have to be able to explain what you do. And I mean, if you're quiet about it, you're going to be less successful. Let's just evident. If you have a chance to talk about your business and you decide, no, I might bother that person, or no, I can't explain it. Even if you're talking to someone and you think, oh, this person's not my ideal client because they have a separate issue, they probably know somebody who does need your help. So talking about yes, it's easiest when it comes up naturally, but I would say if you know exactly what you're doing, like think about the stories you've had, like the success stories, like specific things, like when a parent emailed you and said, my daughter was actually reading a book for the first time in forever. Thank you. Like she really likes you. You inspired her. And it's not bragging, it's telling the truth. You say, well, here's how I've helped somebody before. Here's what's worked before. I helped this third grader get into a new book series. I know. I had a student who she was a little on the younger side for me, but she's like my best student. I recommended the Harry Potter book series, and I'm like, you know how many times I recommended those books to my public school kids, and it was like pulling teeth because they're distracted. There's a lot going on. I'm like, please read my books. They're free. They're on the shelf, and they'd be like, no. But then once you find the right kid who would want them, they're going to believe what you say when you say, these books are great. They're going to benefit you. We can write stories about these stories, and they do it. So you just share stories like that. I think Lori had a cool story about you met somebody recently. What was your story about helping? I know you've got you're thinking, what? I've got 3 or 4 stories. Who have you helped recently that
Sorry.
you could tell that story?
Uh-oh. I think she
Is
froze.
she frozen? She's so
Um,
excited about sharing her story.
Yeah.
She froze.
I think it is like just sharing funny things or interesting things or things that happen each day. Like I was a little girl last night and she was from um the the bottom of the tree in her class for reading up to the top of the tree. So they apparently have a leveling system. Just ask people, hey, does your kid do a tree thing for leveling? Especially because I don't usually teach that age, but there's so many like funny things that happen. I was with a student and I beep, beep, and he's like, that's bothering me. And I said, that's your smoke detector go off.
Oh,
It's your battery. And he had just moved here, had no idea what that is. And he was so happy to fix it. But you just get to know your students, and then there's funny stories to like tell other people.
yeah. I mean, this isn't like some robotic
So
thing. Some people will learn. They'll do fine when they're learning by themselves. Like some people are self-taught, but it's so
mhm.
much more rewarding when you've got personal stories. Anybody else have a personal story? I think people love to hear those.
Um, I have a few. I will share that my most recent student, she was struggling with self confidence and she was struggling with reading and academically overall. I just spent time with her, and in the first week, the mom was really happy. Not because we had advanced her in 1 week, but her self esteem was off the chart. Um, she didn't care if she made an error or anything like that. She was then volunteering, going, Ma, I want to read. Like she was so excited. And that was the highlight for the mom. Like she knows that we're going to take step by step to get her growing, but her self esteem boosted within a week. So mom was very, very happy, and she said, I don't know what it is, but thank you so much, because now we sit down, and she was concerned about her daughter like reading and saying, oh my gosh, this and that. She said, Mom, Miss Stacy said it's okay if I make a mistake. It's all right. It's better to get it wrong now. She's here to help me. And that was in a week. So that was off the charts for me to see that. And now we meet and she doesn't even care. She's like, it's all right. I want to try. And if I go to help her with it, she's like, don't give me the answer. You told me to try on my own. I'm going to do it. I can do it. So that for me is like the peak, because I focus on, it's easy to get you to read and everything like that. But if your confidence level is still down here, you're still going to be afraid to try. And then I just shared so with all my kids who struggle, I share with them about trying and perseverance. I focus on that. And I tell them the story about the person who created 409, the cleaning product. So the person who created the 409 cleaning product, he created this product and he kept going, kept going, kept going, kept going, kept going. Finally, he has a victory. We now have the product called 409 because he failed 408 times. And on the 409th time, he got it right. So I
Wow.
tell them, and that's a motivation. I said, what if he stopped at number 10? What if he stopped at the second time? We wouldn't have this great, phenomenal cleaning product for our house. So you have to continue to push forward and persevere. You cannot give up on yourself. Getting it wrong does not mean you're a failure. You just learn one more way not to do it. You just learn one more way how to get your brain going so that you can think of a great way so that you can find a solution. You're not a failure until you quit. And we don't quit because we have great brains and we're going to succeed. So when they can see that you're an open book, yeah.
One thing I really didn't like to do as a student that I definitely do now is I try to acknowledge my failures. So it's true that like when you're younger, you're afraid to ask questions in class. I hated asking questions in front of other students, even if my friends were in there. In fact, maybe it was hard because I thought my friends are understanding everything and I'm not. Or if I make a mistake, I don't want to be labeled stupid because that was like my number one fear. Like, don't be labeled pathetic or like dumb in any way, shape, or form. But if something doesn't work out, I try to share that with students now because I think one thing we do is we're not just helping them with difficult homework or helping them close the gap with their reading or math skills. We're like teaching them life skills. In my parent Facebook group, I just posted something about like financial education, and that's not something that we directly teach, but I try to throw in those life lessons. Like when you're reading something, I mean, almost any type of literature is going to point to some logical life lesson, or and definitely with math, you can talk about how, hey, here are some things that I tried, or here are things that other people in the world have tried and it didn't work out. So you're really teaching moral values as well. Like, and sometimes you be careful like what type of examples you use and all that, but like overall lessons, I think that's what we offer that the schools can't always offer because we're one-to-one. So this is like highly, not the word privatized, this is highly, the tailored is the word I'm looking for. It's
Personal.
highly tailored to
Customized.
those
Yep.
students. Or
I
even highly tailored to like your small group, because we sometimes we might teach one or
one
two
group.
kids at once, and I mean there's just always something. Or the other thing that's humbling is sometimes you're teaching something that's first time, like a brand new word. You're like, they'll say, how do we say this word? I'm like, oh shoot, I skipped that when I was lesson planning. I was like, let's find out. Open up a tab, go to Google, type the word in, hit the little horn. If you guys haven't done this, you need to do this. Obsequious, like the little man talks, and you're like, did you hear that? Let's say that again. Obsequious. And then you both learn something. You say, yeah, sorry, I didn't learn that word, or I learned that word and I forgot.
Yeah.
So here's somebody saying this is awesome, it's wonderful and encouraging. Oh, there's Darcy coming in.
Hey.
Hi, Darcy.
Hi, Darcy.
How are you?
I read this article before, and it talked about parents with some of the most successful kids. And they talked about 5 things. I don't remember anything else except for one. The one thing that stuck out to me is that all of those parents asked their child when they came home, what did you fail at today? That's something we don't ask our kids. And our kids are so focused on not getting it wrong because we're so often saying, don't do this, don't do that, watch this, watch that, right? So we cannot do that, right? Because then we cause them to fall. But it's nothing wrong with saying, what did you do wrong today? Because now it causes your mind to think about how you can correct what you did. Like, all right, I did that. What happened? So when there's a baby, we don't stop the baby from learning how to walk. When a baby's trying to walk, they fall down, they get back up. We keep saying they're going to get back up. They got to get back up until they learn to walk. Why do we stop them when they get in school, when they get an answer wrong or anything like that? It should be the same premise all the way through. So when they get past that fear of doing something wrong, then they'll forge their way to success.
I love that, Stacy. And I've heard somebody say, if you're not failing at something, you're not trying hard enough. You're only doing things that you feel really confident at. And so if you didn't fail, then you're not trying.
I'm sure depending on what you guys tutor, you're having to repeat certain things over and over again, like just some of those like encouraging statements. Darcy, since you got to come in now, I want to hear one success and one failure you've had with your tutoring business. And when I say failure, I mean maybe something didn't work out with a student and now you know how to better deal with something, or maybe you had a breakthrough with somebody. And because I'm thinking of a million things now that we can just sort of add a couple miscellaneous questions at the end, because as I hear you guys talk, I think of new things. I'm like, oh yeah, we could keep on going, but I'll try not to keep everyone here too long. So Darcy, tell us, remind everybody what you tutor, even though we all know, and what's one success, one failure.
I tutor kids with dyslexia, And I don't know if this is exactly the right thing, but I'm just thinking about yesterday, the student that came, and at the end of my lesson, I try to have them write a sentence. And I try to give them to make them successful. Like, so before they start writing the sentence, I try to make sure that they know how to spell everything and all that stuff. Yesterday, one of my students didn't spell one of the words right. I mean, even though I reminded her before we started writing the sentence that after a short vowel, we spell ch with TCH, but she didn't do that. She just put CH instead of TCH. And so, but I was proud of myself because I didn't stop her and say, oh, wait a minute, don't you remember? I didn't say anything. I let her finish the whole sentence. And then I said, now there's one word that needs something fixed. So let's go through and you look at each thing. And she was able to find it on her own and figure out what was the matter and fix it. And so then I was able to congratulate her that she was able to find her own mistake. That's a really hard thing to do, because when you write something, you know what you meant and you think that you wrote it. So finding your own mistakes is a really it's a hard and it's really good to do. So I really congratulated her on that.
As tutors and teachers, it's really tempting to give an answer because we think that, oh, well, I'm instructing, I'm helping, but sometimes they really are. They'll say, I don't know. And that's where I think, okay, give them a chance still to think about it. Because I don't know is really saying, I kind of want to give up and just let you tell me. Because we all have done this. We've all done this before. So I'll often, if I'm typing on a live document with a student, and I'll highlight something and say, now I think there's one piece of punctuation that's missing. Can you tell me where? And then if that doesn't help, I'll give another hint. And then once they discover it, then it's like, okay, now they've realized it because they've been learning this certain concept, but they have to keep practicing that. And that's when it's exciting, because you realize, wow, they remember what I said, and they were able to tell me an answer without me just saying something. And then that gives them more of a sense of confidence and accomplishment.
And I was proud of myself for not telling the answer.
Yeah, because I've done that before. Or we actually have a laugh over it. I'll have someone in a lesson, and I'll say, okay, so what does B say? I mean, because I've said the answer, and this happens. I remember teachers doing this. Okay, so what the comma in number 4 is? Oh, I just told you there's a comma that belongs there. Great, something like that.
I'm constantly doing that.
Oh,
I constantly do that. I can identify with you.
And they say, geez, thanks. And you're like, no, that wasn't helping you. Now I got to think of something else. I got to make it more challenging. Let's do one more question, and then I'll let you guys kind of ask a couple more, and then we'll be done. So, what is one thing you've changed about your tutoring business this year? Like an improvement? Because one was I used to be a bit disorganized when I got a new client, because I would just email them. There's a lot of back and forth, and you got to reduce that, because parents just want help right away, or the student. They need, and you got to get their contact information. So I streamlined that to where I have one form they fill out, and that way, anytime I need their phone number, I just go back to that form, and I'm like, okay, there it is. There's the parent email. I need the student email. I need both of their phone numbers if possible. Like, that's kind of the boring part, but that's also the really important part. You've got to have a few of those businessy, I guess, the admin thing down pat. You've got to find back to the communication thing. You've got to have a way to access their numbers in case they can't find your Zoom link, or they're having power issues and they can't get in, or whatever. Okay, what's one thing you've changed? And it could be, oh, I changed the name of my business. It could be anything.
I changed because I'm coming out of my shell. I still was trying to be so perfect. And I had to condition myself to just do it. And it's going to happen. Just let whatever happens happen. It's better to get it out there. So that's something I had to condition in my mind and get away from perfectionism. And it helped me also to read the book Eat That Frog, because it's about procrastination and delays. So it's been recommended and I finally got it, and that's helping me a lot. So now I'm just going with it and I'm like, whatever people are going to think, they're going to think. I don't care. I'm going out there. Somebody will like it. So that's one thing that I changed.
Yeah, that imposter syndrome thing. Yeah, I think you do quite well coming out of your shell. Honestly, I think there's a hidden gem in you for sure. Maybe people always knew it, but putting yourself online is like, she's online. People will freak out. Sorry if that hurt your ears. Darcy, did you make any changes? You're online more. You're on Instagram more, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to be out there more. And I guess I've experimented with some like when I have a free evaluation at the beginning, I've experimented with some different evaluations. How do I want to evaluate kids? I'm still kind of experimenting with that and deciding what exactly I should do. Because some of them are longer, sometimes it's longer and sometimes it's shorter, but the next thing that I really want to improve more is I want to do an evaluation at the beginning and then be able to communicate with the parents. Here's where they were at the beginning and here's where they are now, and give them updates every, I haven't been given enough updates. So that's my next thing to change.
Sometimes we think we know what the student needs, but it's like you have to take care of the immediate thing. I'm always like, oh, this person needs help with writing, but it's sometimes you have to first figure out what are the parts of speech, how do we write a proper sentence first? And that can be tough because we can get impatient sometimes, but this is like an absolute game of patience. It's a game of growing your client base. It's a game of improving your lessons. It's a challenge of, okay, how do we find more resources? Because I don't want the students getting bored with the same Kahoot quizzes over and over again. Like, I have to find new things and be willing to put in the time to learn the new thing. Let's see, Patty, Clara, what have you guys put in this year? Anything about your business, lessons, either whether the teaching side or the business side?
I made an ideal student profile on my website.
Oh.
So this year I'm changing the kinds of students that I'm willing to take on. I want the ones who actually want to learn. I don't want the ones who want to coast through their class and have all the answers given to them and then tell me, oh, but my teacher gives me all the formulas on the board and so I don't need to learn them. Can you just tell me what they are? I don't want to deal with that anymore.
Yeah, and that's hard, right? Because you might kind of like the kids. I mean, you kind of like the person, but it becomes very difficult when you realize you can take people only as far as they're willing to go, and that's not always the student's fault. It's where they are right now. You do have to kind of push them and speak to the parents and say, hey, this is, I've got a tight schedule. If they're not doing the homework, because we can give additional homework. That's another thing that some parents will ask for. They want that because a lot of this is enrichment. It's not just help them improve their grades in the classroom. So that's a really great, probably worth it to talk about on another topic, is the parents need to know, who are you really willing to tutor? Because I'll talk to anybody who emails me, or we have a free consultation, and I do try to throw in that, hey, are you sure? I don't say it quite like this, but I'm like, is your kid willing to actually do the work? Because if not, this is going to be bad for both of us. Because I don't want to just take your money and then give your kid answers. That's not how this works. That might be some of those other tutor profiles out there, like those tutoring companies. It could be how some of that works, but that's not how we work. This is a high level situation. You've got to make it high level, and you have that confidence and those boundaries to be like, I can take you on as a student, but I can't take on these other people. We try out everyone at first. I certainly did. I've had people throw a fit and all that. All right, Patty, what have you done this year? Because I know you've done some things.
Yeah, I'm struggling to think of something specific because I have just started my business earlier this year. So I've done so many things.
A lot.
And just like Stacy was saying, coming out of your shell and being willing to put something out there that's not perfect and just to get it done. And that has really helped me build momentum for things to just keep rolling with new things. So yeah, I created a website, which I just couldn't have imagined doing just a short time ago, and started my YouTube channel just recently. And even though I feel like it's far from perfect, and it's kind of hard to put it out there, but it just helps to get your business out there and share it with everybody.
That's probably what we can remind. If you guys are watching and you definitely have your online tutoring business, you know that all of us have a little group where we actually encourage and coach one another with making video content. That's where we all probably spend the most time together. Like we weekly meet, because meeting and getting to talk about our businesses helps us figure out what we want to say, how we want to be presented, because we get to control all that. I've never ever in my life been able to control how I'm earning money. Like we're making our own business and you have to get comfortable with all of that. And so that means doing all the hard work and then realizing, what work can I pay other people to do? What work is actually a time waster, or what work is something I need to actually learn how to do? There's always something going on. And then anytime I learn something new, I can't wait to tell my students. I'm always like, well, guess what? Or I'm getting a new computer now and everything's going to run faster, whatever it is. So you guys, it's been an hour. Time flies. And so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Does anyone else have any other comment, question, concern, or joke that they want to add? No. Okay. Well, you guys are great. Be sure, guys, so you can comment and you can still rewatch this or share it with other people who are pretty new. And maybe, hopefully, all of this has helped you realize what's going to help you succeed and what's going to cause you to fail as an online tutor, because it's honestly, it's harder to succeed, but you're going to people want you. There are people out there who want you to teach them. They're going to see you and hear you and say, oh, I wish I had that person as my tutor or teacher. If you hold back, you're actually holding back from other people. And that's probably the biggest motivator, is think about the people who actually want you. You're not just doing this to feel good about yourself, really. And that's such a small part. You're pouring into other people because you have a purpose on this planet. So everyone, thanks so much for coming in. I'm going to end the broadcast and then I'll end our separate broadcast here. But you guys are wonderful. There may have been chats that I missed, and I'm so sorry if I did. So we'll do this again sometime. Thank you guys for watching and have a wonderful afternoon. Bye. Oh, let me take our picture real quick, by the way, for the thumbnail.
You should.
Sorry if I.
Maybe that,
All right, smile.